Welcome everybody to Conversing over Drinks. It is your host Cedric Turner, where every drink sparks a real conversation. I have a special guest on today, Mr. William VanDerNoord. I hope I said that right. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yes, you got it that time.
A buddy from here in Japan, in Sendai, where we've both been working at the same business, doing kind of the same thing. He left us in my department and went to a better department this year. But it's been a lot of fun. As you can see from his books here that we have out in front, Foundations and Origins, he is an author, and these are his first two books, and I've been a big fan. I'm always big on supporting people when they first get started into some things and just pushing it. I've really enjoyed reading as much as I've got to read from this. I've been extremely busy, so I haven't got to finish it.
I relate to that.
It's been a crazy time, but I'm going to let Will take it from here, man. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so as Cedric said, first things first, thank you for having me on.
Always, man.
Great to be here. Haven't been on something like this since college, so it'll be a bit of a warm-up. Kind of have to break some of the ice in my own talking and thinking.
Yeah.
But it should be fun. So as Cedric said, my name's William VanDerNoord. I'm a new author. These two books came out last year, 2024. Got one more coming out in April, fingers crossed. That one's just about done. So at that time, I'll be kind of a three-peat author. Just learning it all. Won't say that I'm Tolkien yet, but I don't know if I even want to be. I want to be me. So,
yeah, I was like, that's great. I think everybody needs to find their own lane, establish themselves. Like you can definitely imitate from people and pick up things, but at the end of the day, you have to be your purest self.
Right. Yeah. And there's a balance to be had of trying to not mimic, but kind of replicate or copy the things that you like from other authors or creatives. And then there's a part of it trying to do your own thing and trying to figure that out. Because if you only copy people, you're always going to be compared to them. You're always going to be doing stuff like theirs. Yeah. But if you're doing your own thing, then you're never taking in outside influence. You're never really going to learn or grow. So there's a balance to be had. It's kind of like a seesaw.
Yeah, I mean, that's great information right there. And that's a great way to look at it. And once again, for the fans, I want to let you guys know that this is the first episode that we're doing like this. A lot of you guys have seen some of my episodes on YouTube, and being here in Japan, a lot of them have been remote. So it's been going through Redcam. This is the first one where we're sitting down with the video and actually doing an in-person episode, which is great. And it's also the first time we're doing it in 4K, so you guys are going to get to see really how ugly I am, but it's all good. Okay. I gotta keep it real with them. I was like, I always keep it real with them. Even on my TikTok, I tell them all the time, leave me alone about my hair, because I know I need a haircut.
Hey, I'm wearing a hat for a reason.
Man,
so
if I could find a good hat in Japan to wear, I would wear it.
I know my hat's from the States. I can take these here.
I was like, I couldn't be on here with a bucket hat because it would just be like this. It's been different, so it's been a lot of fun, man. But talking about that, both of us have been here in Japan I've been here for 2 years now.
Yeah, this is my third year.
Okay, and we're both heading back home at the end of March. What was your telltale that it's time to go back?
So going into this year, I had to sign like a new contract. My first year here was kind of a weird work year where it's kind of a year and a half, year and 3/4, came at a weird time. So going into this year, I'm like, well, for sure I'm going to sign a new contract. I want to see that out. But then as the year kind of started, I liked the new position I was in, but I wanted to see about teaching in the States. And then really kind of where it kind of came to an ultimatum was back during May, during the Japanese holiday Golden Week.
Yeah.
My family came to visit. They were here. With them here, I was kind of aggravated with them being here, like showing them around, trying to find them the right food. I was like, man, I really should stay here. I really like it here.
Yeah.
But then I was already struggling at that time with thoughts of, well, what does next year look like?
Yeah.
At that time, I didn't have either of these published, but I was really working towards getting the first one published. So I really was starting to get into that headspace. Having them all here, I realized, well, yeah, it might have been annoying, kind of like being a tour guide for that time.
Yeah.
But I also realized that, I mean, I miss seeing my folks from every single day, or at least time to time. Miss being in the States, being in that atmosphere. There's a lot of great things about Japan, but it's just not the States in some ways.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, that's kind of where my headspace is as well. I told my buddies when we talked about it, I told them, I was like, look, man, I love Japan. I was like, I love it. I was like, being an introvert.
Oh,
I was like, it's
perfect
the best.
place to be. Perfect place to be.
I was like, people don't bother you. They just
Everyone
do their
just
own
minds their own
thing,
business.
and you just go about the day.
Yeah.
Like it's great for an introvert. But I was like, I miss my buddies. I miss American food.
You have all the relationships from home, and you can establish those here. But at least for me, being an introvert here, I definitely found that most of my relationships were centered around the people I worked with. I branched out from time to time when I first came, but as I was here longer and longer, I really just kind of stuck to the relationships I have, which those are great. I have great friendships, great relationships. I mean, you're one of them.
Appreciate it.
Shout out. But of course, at a certain point, it's like, well, back in the States, that's where my good buddies are. That's where my family is. Like if I miss this, that, or the other thing, I know exactly where to get in the States, food-wise, or, traditions of like holidays and stuff. And you don't get quite the same interactions with people, or kind of like feelings year by year here in Japan as you do back in the States.
Oh yeah, like it's very different. And I told my buddies, I was like, I'm coming back because I miss it. I was like, I miss the States. You're considerably younger than me.
Age is just a number.
I was like, I'm getting older now, so I really want to go back to the States just so I can start that next chapter of life.
Right.
And so that next chapter, I was like, I look at all my buddies who are married, having kids, and their kids are going into school, and I'm like, man, I was like, I'm just kind of sitting. I'm gonna be an old dad.
Yeah.
So,
which I totally agree with. I feel like as long as you're here, unless you're like intent on settling down here and making your life here, you're just kind of stagnating your life. And that's totally a part for me as well. As I want to start my career. I'm hoping this is it, but if this is not, then a career in the States in general, just a comfortable place to settle down. And it doesn't really matter where you are at in the States. There's a level of familiarity there that there just isn't here.
Yes, that's exactly right. And speaking of starting your new career, you said you want to do this. When did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer, that you wanted to take this journey? Because writing a book is an extremely hard thing to do. Me, like being space headed as I am, I'll write 3 or 4 chapters and they'll be like, fuck this.
Relate to that. I relate to that.
And I was like, you got 2 books out. So like, when did you realize this is what you wanted to do?
So, I mean, it's a long story of just my writing experience. Frankly, I've been writing since I was really young. I like to say I finished writing my first book when I was like 11 or 12, so really young. But I mean, of course, it was a really bad book. It was not readable. Like it was for me, because I understood like the scenes I was describing or the characters, but nothing was fleshed out. I didn't know what I was doing. At that point, I had maybe been like writing or toying with writing for about a year. It was pretty much at that time just all kind of like fan fiction kind of stuff. Like, oh, I really liked this TV series, or I really liked this book. Oh, what would happen if it was slightly different? So I kind of want to write that and see. And frankly, even as I was writing, I didn't know what I was doing, where me explaining things through in the book, it wasn't real. It wasn't reality. Like that would not have happened.
Okay.
But
you say that you've been writing since you were young.
Yeah.
And everybody gains inspiration from their favorite books when they read.
Absolutely.
So what was your favorite things to read as you were growing up? Like, what was a book where you were like, Mom, get out of here, I'm reading this. Like, what's going on?
there are two series that I can really think of
Yeah.
right now. And one is kind of a series my whole family was kind of getting into when I was younger. And that was, to start with, kind of my reading in general was at that time Harry Potter. Classic for that time for sure. And so my family was getting into it. I got into it. I realized, well, I really like this storytelling thing, and I kind of want to try it out myself. From there, I kind of discovered my own first series that like I got into. Again, very similar time period, but after Harry Potter time was the Hunger Games. So I got really into those books. Again, kind of a product of their time. But for sure was one of those baseline inspirations. From there, I started kind of getting into more of like the Japanese media, so like Japanese light novels, Japanese comic books, manga, and stuff, and really starting to see like the creativity that like Japan would use for writing, and my own like creative vision for stuff just kind of blew wide open. And while that's not what I write these days, like I'm not trying to create a comic book, there's totally still like some inspiration of all of that in my books, though I'm trying to create my own stories independent of some of the inspirations, which is difficult because there's all the times I'll read something through and I'll be like, wow, that's a good story. I want to do something like that. Well, I need to be careful that I don't do exactly that. So,
and I mean, just from your books, that also tells our age, because Harry Potter, I got into Harry Potter not later in life, like later in my childhood, because we had accelerated reading. And so, like, you read a book, you get your points, you get your personal pizza. You young kids don't know nothing about that. That was life. That was life, man. Get that personal pizza ticket, go to Pizza Hut, get that little pizza with the pepper. It was so good, man.
I remember doing that.
But I was one of those kids. I was like, I'm not reading 50 books to get these points. I'm gonna read one book and get all the points. And so I saw Harry Potter one day, and I didn't even see the title. I just saw 60 points. And so I picked it up, and it was the first one. It was Philosopher's Stone. And I read that, and I was hooked. And I was like, man, this is crazy. But as I got older, my preference changed. Like I also grew up reading Stephen King. Like so I grew up reading Stephen King. Like I was one of those weird kids. Like on sick days when you're at home and your mom lets you watch whatever, I was like, let me watch it, because I had it. I had the two VHS tape. Y'all don't know nothing about that either. I had the 2 VHS tape of it, and so I would watch that. And then when I read it, I was like, this movie is bullshit. They left so much out. I was like, but then it was then as I got older, went to John Gresham books. And then it was always reading history. Like I enjoy history, so I was reading about ancient civilizations and all these other things. And so whenever I write my books, it's weird because you hear Harry Potter, you hear Stephen King, you hear John Gresham, you hear history. But when I write, it's always love. It's never anything like that. It's just it's a fantasy of two people meeting and just seeing where that builds. And then, like I said, 4 chapters into it, and I'm like, fuck it. And then I delete it, and I'm just like, I don't care. And I go back to other things.
Don't delete it. Just keep it.
I got to, man. Like, if I get frustrated with something, I'm like, I'm done with this shit. This is the best. This is ridiculous. But speaking of your books, for people who can't see, the titles are Foundation and Origins, but they both say the world is in Nash.
Yeah, so that's
World
the name.
Of Nash.
That's the name of the world.
Yeah. What is the world of Nash?
Well, in the sense of the books themselves, the world of Nash is a world much like our own, but basically guided along a similar course, but by magic. Yeah. So things actually end up getting locked more in periods of time and progressing differently at a certain point, where basically these two series take place in 2 different time periods. I hopefully have another series coming out in December, so running 3 series alongside of each other, past, present, future.
Okay.
Each obviously in a different time period, different aesthetic, different kind of architectural style, different kind of themes going on, but similar kind of storytelling in there, not just because I'm the author of all of them, but they're all kind of connected in a way. So like the past one here, Origins, what it is a lot more kind of medieval fantasy magic kind of stuff, and you see kind of the first change in the world where this new magic system kind of starts coming out. Basically, I always describe it as a magical version of like X-Men. So there's all these different people with their own special powers. At first, when people are discovering it, it seems like they're connected or seems like they're kind of the same. But then you start seeing people with just strange powers. And it's like, well, they're not casting the same magic as these other people, and they just can't. So then that happens in the past. The present one, Foundations, it's set in kind of a steampunk reality. So they have a lot of the inventions that you would see today, but it's based under different technology. A lot of it's based under magic. But again, it's playing with the X-Men, the magical kind of X-Men style. I'm lacking my words right now.
It's all good, man.
Basically, it plays with similar themes as the first one does, because it is following people with this special magic in the modern age when that kind of magic is illegal. And then later on, we'll have the future, and we'll see what has happened to get us there. And that one is going to be a lot more of a cyberpunk city with no magic at all. And then suddenly people start showing up with magic, and it's like, well, where is this coming from? Why is this? That one has a whole ton of layers and mysteries to dive into, but they kind of all do. So their mysteries are all kind of connected to each other, but they're not exactly the point of the plot. I would not call them mystery books.
Okay. So if I had to describe it to somebody, I think I would describe it more of, I want to say, I don't want to say Harry Potter.
No,
but I want to say like it's in that series. Like
similar. So I mean, it's not a bunch of like high school kids running around with wands casting magic and learning about it.
What I'm thinking of though is the new ones with Grindelwald and like the Fantastic Beasts.
The Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, like where like magic is still new.
It would be similar. It would be similar. The magic being new is, man, I had a perfect analogy for it now, but I'm losing it. Essentially, how I typically describe the world as superheroes meet traditional fantasy.
Okay.
So essentially, these people are becoming the superheroes of their world, but it is all under the foundation of magic. The world of Nash, it has a connection to our world, so people can kind of go back and forth, but that's something that starts happening now, but goes forward into the future. A lot of things develop from that, but essentially, it's a world that doesn't have a whole ton of like human influence as it is right now, but that starts to change as the story goes on. Eventually the stories kind of meet together. The overarching like story or narrative goes on from there. And right now it's just past, present, future, but in the future, it will be just the present, and everything's going to converge on that time.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that sounds fascinating, and like I need to finish reading these, as you can tell. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm going to finish reading them. It's just we're getting down to what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, we have 3 weeks left.
And so it's just been packing and trying to sell things and moving. And we had to move twice because of redoing stuff.
Move apartments in the exact same complex.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then,
but let's get back to this. What makes a great story? Because when I was growing up, I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of creative writing. I wrote a lot of poems because I was just always this hopeless romantic. So I was always writing poems
I relate to that.
for girls and like just for them to read them and be like, oh, that's cute. And then like walk away and it just crushed me. But it's
Hey, at least you got it out there. I
so,
write those things and then keep them to myself, never tell anybody.
I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you. In like 6th grade, I became a ghostwriter. Like I would write poems for like for the good looking dudes to go get the chick, and then be like, "Oh my god, you wrote this," and I'm just sitting in the background like, "No, the fuck you didn't. I did, bitch. Look at me." But growing up that way, like telling a great story, the principles that I always heard from my creative writing teachers were: you need a great protagonist, you need a great antagonist.
Yes.
You need something that's going to catch people's interest.
Yeah.
And you need to start the book from like the first paragraph needs to catch the reader.
Yeah.
So like whenever I've always written from the point of view of the protagonist.
Yeah.
So what point of view do you write from to make a great story?
So under the base like question there, like first, second, third point of view, my books are all a little bit different. I do have interest someday in writing like a second person book, like saying you the whole book, but it's very well known that writing a book like that is very tricky. So I have other ways to kind of go about that. And actually Origins kind of does that a bit. But Foundations, it's a third person perspective. Origins is a first person. So Foundations just follows one person. That's who the story is about. Very clear hero. I try to make the antagonist very clear as well, but it's more of a story about the hero and their magic in the battle there, more so than them against someone. There is a clear villain and antagonist in Foundations, but even that has kind of some black, white, and gray to it on morality and why are they the antagonists? Are they really in the wrong? Etc. But then Origins, the main character of Origins really isn't the main character. So at least for the first book. So it even says on the back of the book that essentially you're following this one girl who's from Earth, wakes up in this other world, wakes up in Nash. But then the story thereon is essentially from her perspective as you learn about the world. It's a good frame of view to have so that you are learning alongside them. But at the same time, it's not really their story. They're not the catalyst to it. They're not the one fighting against anything. They're just part of the narrative. Where another character, her name's Maya, she is kind of the main character. Everything's centered around her. But then future books in the Origin series are a little bit different from there. Once you finish the book, that kind of makes sense why, but I won't say anything to spoil it. But
okay, so man, like we've talked about the Book of Nash and we talked about the series and how things are going with the Foundation. Now, when it comes to writing a book, the most difficult thing for me when it comes to writing a book is to keep the story interesting. Keep the story interesting, keep it alive. I remember one of the books, a short story that I wrote when I was younger. That was one of my teacher's biggest critique. She was like, I enjoyed the first 3 pages. She was like, but then the next 10, I was just like, where's he going with this? Like, it's very bland. And then so the tricky part about writing is to keep the story interesting, but
absolutely
to also another thing that I've always had an issue with is that I've always turned my protagonist into the antagonist, and it's like people are reading and they're thinking like, should I be rooting for this person? So those have always been my hurdles when it comes to writing. It's something that I've tried to get out. What is the most difficult part about writing about the world of Nash?
It's starting to become keeping all the information straight. I have so much lore from not only these 2 series now, which have their first 2 books set in stone. I originally published all of that online.
Yeah.
So there's a decent amount of lore there that's kind of just set that I'm now just rewriting or reworking.
Mhm.
But then I also have lore from future series that's like, well, if I change this now, that won't make much sense then.
Yeah.
And so I have to find a way to connect it all. But that's less so about writing, and that's more about planning.
Mhm.
So writing for me, I'll start off actually the question with answering what is the easiest part to me,
Yeah.
or potentially what's more so the fun part to me.
Yeah.
Is I really, really like my characters. I like writing characters. I try to make them as realistic as possible.
Mhm.
It's one of the things that people have praised me on in the past, is that my characters feel real.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that can kind of work against me, where just because they're real and they're realistic doesn't mean they're interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boring real people in the world.
Oh, of course.
So there's a balance to find on writing a good, realistic character and still making it interesting. And then that's just the main character. Then you have side characters that are all around them,
Yeah.
and you have little like minor characters that kind of come in and out, trying to have everyone's intentions and kind of personalities really clear and made known. As I have written, I've realized how like poor I used to do that,
Yeah.
where every character just kind of seemed the same.
Yeah.
And their like goals in life may have been different, but they kind of just had the exact same personality,
Yeah.
almost like me in a book.
Yeah.
So I try to change that now, where it's not just, oh, they're realistic, but they're realistic,
Yeah.
and try to have different people, different perspectives. So I typically, for my main characters, specifically write them in a way that they are very clearly not me. So there's no like a difficulty in trying to turn them into me.
Yeah.
But then you got some side characters that become important, and trying to mesh everything together kind of goes into my first point of like all the lore working together and making sure everything fits like a good puzzle, rather than just throwing everything in there and thinking your square cube is going to fit through a circle.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great point there, because that's another thing I've seen with a lot of young writers is that their main character or their protagonist or antagonist ends up becoming exactly them. And it's like they're writing their own story, but they're like trying to put different character spins on
it.
And
it's not even them trying to write themselves.
Yeah.
It's just, it happens to turn
it's just
into
relatable. Yeah.
Right.
Like you're writing it and you're like, well, I got to give this character this feature. And it's hard not to just take it from yourself.
Right.
Like, okay,
it's easy to think, well, why would I do this? Well, then I'm going to write it in that perspective, because that's how I understand it.
Yeah. And so it's very difficult to stay with a book and make sure that everybody's different. Everybody in the world is different. The characters are different. Love interest is different.
Oh,
everything like that is different. And so that is a very difficult part about writing. And
it's a hard balance for sure.
Yeah, it's very hard, man. And so we have talked about these books. Where can people get these books?
Yeah, so right now they're available on Amazon. You can buy an ebook version or a paperback version, as you see here. Occasionally I do run sales on the ebook version, allow them to be free so you can pick them up then. That's typically about every other month. I'll run one of them as a free kind of promo. Currently, the paperback versions don't run through those sales, but I do plan to later on this year to start kind of doing that as the second books come out for these, and then a new series starts and the world as a whole kind of builds up from there.
What about people that listen to audiobooks? Because I know a lot of people are consuming books now as audiobooks.
Like, so I'm looking into how to do an audiobook. I'm considering how
to read it yourself.
That's what I'm considering, is doing it myself. But at the other end of it, both of my main characters are female, so that could potentially be a bit odd if me as a very clear, deep-voiced male am reading a perspective of a female. So I may look around on some sites like Fiverr to get an audiobook out there. That's really one of my goals actually this year, is really kind of looking into that, getting that out there. I know a lot of people prefer to read that way these days.
Yeah.
So that's really my goal for 2025, is to start getting audiobook versions of these.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
So let's circle to time in Japan here.
Yeah.
Like, time in Japan and going back home. What has been like your favorite part of Japan? Like, what's been your favorite part? What's been your least favorite part of Japan? I should start there. Yeah.
So Japan is a bit of a mixed bag for me. Back in the day, I was just obsessed with Japan, Japanese culture, all the anime, manga, everything. But then, just like my parents said, eventually I realized it was just a phase and a fad. And while I do still love Japan, it's kind of from a different perspective now. Where back in the day, I really wanted to come to Japan because it was Japan. Then I went to college. That phase wore off. I started to just be interested in other things. Look, what do I want to do with my life? Then an opportunity fell in my lap to study abroad here. I said, well, why not? I owe it to my younger self. So I did that. I came here for about 6 months, studied abroad there, kind of in just outside Tokyo, in Chiba Prefecture. It was about an hour out of Tokyo, train ride wise. So I really kind of fell back in love with Japan in a different perspective, from being here, being immersed in the culture and whatnot. But came out of that experience and really just kind of was, because of the time I left, I was in that like homesickness phase. I just was really kind of anti-Japan and really pro-America for like a couple weeks. And that just happened to be when I left. So then I was real like, oh, I don't want to be in Japan. I don't like Japan. Lived that way for probably another 6 months because it just kind of elongated after I left. And then another opportunity fell in my lap. Went to a career fair because I had to for an assignment in college. And this was my senior year. And I was the only person to attend this, not meeting, but interview almost with the recruiter from the school here. Literally, the whole thing was going on for a week. She had a couple different times that she was doing things, and I was the only person to attend all week. So she was like super gung-ho and like telling me everything about it and pitching it to me and getting me here. So I just kind of fell back in love with the idea of coming here again and teaching, kind of giving it another shot. So that has totally been a great thing. Probably one of my favorite parts of Japan is kind of reliving the life that I had here, but in a different perspective on like, well, what are the pros and cons of living in Japan? Like actually living, not like dorm room living. My meals aren't supplied to me quite as much. I don't have my handheld at every which turn. I'm also not like right by Tokyo, so I don't have 1,000,001 things to do on a weekend. There's stuff to do here. It's better than the boonies. But
it's not Tokyo.
It's not Tokyo.
Well, or Osaka.
No.
Or Kyoto.
No. Basically not any other big city you can name in Japan. But yeah, so kind of really have enjoyed living here again, kind of experienced Japanese culture from a different perspective, like living in it. But I would also say that's kind of one of the downsides, is because Japan feels so different from America, you feel so ostracized sometimes. They're just so out there. As long as you're a foreigner, you're going to be an outsider in Japan, unfortunately. Down in Tokyo, it's changing. In Osaka, it changed a while back. But up here, where there's mostly just Japanese people and then a couple foreign language schools like we teach at, pretty much everyone is Japanese. There's very little English support. You really are kind of on your own in a lot of it. So it just sometimes just even walking out your door one day to be like, well, I need to go to the store. I need to go to the post office. Well, I don't know what Japanese they're going to throw at me. I don't want to deal with that. But so different challenges there, but also kind of that's the nice thing too. Living a new experience.
It's been, my time here in Japan has been fantastic. I mean, been 2 years, and it's been a lot of fun. When I first got here, it was very iffy. Like the one thing that has just bugged me the most is like being a former athlete, playing all the time, not like having that access to just be like, there's an open court here every day.
Yeah.
Let me go play ball. Like there's like,
the gym nearby, but it's not always open for basketball.
Yeah, it has been like, it's like, oh my God. But then when I finally found a groove and finally kind of got back to where I was, it was much needed because I was going through a lot back home in the States. My mentor had just passed. I was really struggling with his departure and like getting over that. So this was kind of a time to come here and just breathe and just grieve and not have to deal with, oh, we had coffee here all the time, or we did this there all the time. Like now it's just a whole new experience. But then even that got worse because there's so much about Japan that he would have loved. And so like I was like, now I'm running into things where I'm like, man, he would have loved this. This would have been cool. But I mean, the Japanese culture, like one thing that I've really enjoyed about the Japanese culture is that I joke around with my buddies all the time. I was like, Japanese people have made me feel like I'm light skinned. Like I go around and they're just like, it's easy. And I'm like, I hate the fact of going home right now. I was like, somebody's gonna give me a reality check. I will be crushed.
America's very different from Japan.
I was like, I'm gonna be in the corner crying somewhere like a Japanese person. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, why y'all do this to me? Like, and I was like, give me some time. But I mean, one thing I didn't know about Japan is how big they were into DJing. I have so many DJ friends. It is ridiculous. Like they are huge into DJing.
You're right. I've never thought about that.
And I was just like, this ain't stuff that we do in the States. like it's not like I was like, most clubs you go to, like, there's a DJ, but I mean, you don't really recognize or like know if you're not like, oh,
they have these like fads here that when it takes off big time.
Like everybody wants to be a DJ. Yeah, everybody wants to be a DJ. Like I know so many people who are DJs, and like one of the things that really got them was it's like a stamp of approval in almost anything when Black culture says you're good at it. And so like that was my first introduction to DJs was that like they were playing something, and if I started nodding my head, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, I need to play this a little bit more, this line." And I'm just like, and what they don't realize is like, I just love music. I was like, I love music in any form. If it's a great beat, if it's anything, like I'm gonna enjoy it. And then two, I was like, half of the DJs I know are females, so I'm just trying to flirt half the time.
Here in Japan or just in general?
No, here in Japan. Here in Japan, most of the DJs I've met are female, and so I guess
it's been about 50-50 for me.
Yeah, so I'm mainly just flirting sometimes. But it's been a lot of fun, man. I'm ultra excited to go back. Yeah, I'm not ready for the political and social climate of the United States, but I'm ready to be back. Yeah, but I'm ready to be back around the homies. I'm ready to be back around English.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be the one thing that really throws me off. It's like I'm gonna be in a grocery store, and somebody's gonna say something in English, and I'm hey yo, like shut up.
Yeah, you understand everything going around.
Yeah, it's gonna be super weird, man. Like it's gonna be like, oh, I know what they're saying. Like, what? It's crazy. Like,
how dare you say that?
I was like, and then being like disrespecting my kids, that's gonna be weird again. Because I like here in Japan, like kids are great, man. They're not gonna disrespect you. They're gonna be very respectful. Even their form of disrespect is like, I would take that from an American student any day.
Their worst disrespect is still much better than you get in the States.
I like their worst disrespect is maybe sticking their tongue out at you. And it's like, okay. I was like, I've heard and seen so fourth graders cuss a teacher smooth out with words I don't even say it. I'm just like, God damn. Yeah. So that's
very different.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy going back and having to deal with that. So when you go back, are you gonna go back into teaching?
Yeah, that's the plan right now. I never taught in the States. But I kind of want to try it out. I don't want to teach in public school. That's for sure. At least not right away. We'll see if that's where life leads. But
private school ain't that much different. It ain't
private
that much
school
different.
is.
It ain't that much different. I'm taught it.
Depends.
I'm taught it both.
Depends on the kids.
I'm taught it both.
Sure.
Yes.
It's true. But I should have something starting to go on with private school back home.
Yeah.
So hopefully something with that kind of pans out.
Okay.
We'll see. But the hope is kind of start doing some teaching in the States, see how it is, see if I like it there. Maybe it's all just a fluke here. And it's like, nope, I don't actually like teaching. I just like teaching in Japan. Because like you were saying, respect. So want to do that, want to start focusing in on the books, really kind of want to be there in the States, hopefully looking for a publisher in the next couple of years. Right now, I'm just doing this all on my own. So it's kind of all on me to get the next step out there. So essentially just kind of, there's a couple different opportunities in the States I want to see out. So teaching is one of those possibilities. So
Also, that's great. And like I said, I've worked in both, and it's not that much of a difference. Like in public school, kids are going to insult you just like based off of you. They're going to pick at things at you. I was like, private schools, they're going to insult you because of your pockets. Because most of the people in private schools are pretty rich kids that are well off.
That's true.
So they're going to be like, oh, I hope in my life I ain't got to be a teacher
at
a private school. Making $40,000. They're going to know everything about your salary. You're just going to be sitting there like, this is ridiculous. But it's man, like going back, I think I'm gonna take a break from teaching. I know I love it. I love teaching. I love the students. Even with the jokes I'm cracking, I've loved all my kids that I've taught.
There's totally pros and cons to all of it.
And I love them all. And I've always had a great bond with them. I've always had great rapport with my students. And it's something that I'm going to need a break from. And it's mainly just because I want to get my master's in psychology. I want to get my master's in psychology and go into child therapy. And like when I go back into the school, I want to go into the school as a school counselor. So that I can help kids at a different level. And so that's the plan for me going back into the States. Like I want to be a school counselor by the age 38, 39, somewhere around there, just depending on how quickly I can get my master's. And so like that's the plan for me back in the States. But it's like I always tell people, like, if you enjoy teaching, give it a shot. Because like the kids are something very special. Like
that's really the best part of it.
And it just depends on what age you teach. Like,
absolutely.
I always tell like new teachers, I was like, teach 5th grade and down. I was like, because if you come into teaching middle school and high school kids, it's your first shot. That's gonna suck.
Unless that's like what you already know you really want to do. That's a whole other game to play.
I always say start with the babies because the babies, like they're
little, they're cute. They don't know what they're doing or saying. They're not. They're so innocent with everything, and it's just easier to let what they say roll off. Because they don't know what they're talking about. Like half the stuff they're saying is so unintentional. It's just something that they heard and they saw a reaction, so now they want to repeat. Most of the time, like if they're saying anything rough, it's pretty savage too.
And like. I mean, like, the most savage thing I've ever heard from one of my kids was she said just a common thing, but it was just savage for me. It was one of my 3rd graders. It was after my grandmother had passed. And I hadn't been cutting my hair or shaving or anything because I was in grief. And I came in to practice one day and she comes into the gym and she was like, Coach, you need to cut your hair. And then she just walked off and I was like, oh, damn. I was like, oh, they hurt so bad. And I would have got a haircut the next week. I was like, I came back into the gym. She looked at me. She was like, there you go. And then just walked off. I was like, but that's just a 3rd grader. That's a 3rd grader. That's
not even the worst of it.
I was like, I couldn't imagine a high school student. Like, a high school student would have destroyed me. I was like, even when I started doing high school, it was just like, I would tell them all the time because I was only a coach. Like I taught for a little bit I became a teacher later on, but the first year I was a coach. So I built that establishment of fear because it was like, that's coach. Like,
Right.
yeah. But I remember one of our first conversations, I was like, our country is a democracy. We get to vote on things. Everything is great like that. I was like, that's America. That's what we are built on. And they were like, yeah. I was like, not here. I was like, this is a dictatorship. I was like, whatever the hell I say goes. If you got a problem with it, walk the fuck out that door.
That's kind of how it has to be.
And it was fun. But when I became like a full-time high school teacher, it was just a whole different breed, because now, especially with the climate and social media and things that people can do, like, you have to walk and move in totally different ways than teachers of the past had to.
Yeah.
Like, you can't piss off a student because they're going to go immediately to their parent.
Right.
Or they're going to go to social media.
There's a lot more eyes on you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more misinterpretation.
Yeah. And the board, like I've always told people, I was like, when it comes to business, when it comes to teaching, when it comes to anything like that, I was like, they're always going to cut something loose that's going to affect them the less. I was like,
everyone's out for themselves.
I was like, a teacher is easier to fire than trying to prove that a student is lying. I was like, that's just just an easier route, it's a cleaner route.
They'd rather keep the student in the system.
Yeah, and
they can get a new teacher.
Yeah, and so like I've always told people that, I'm like, just when you get into it, just walk on eggshells. Like, but it's always fun, man. But hey, thanks for being on the show,
for having
man.
Me.
It's been a lot of fun. I feel like this is going to be a great episode. I feel like a lot of people are going to tune in. I hope that a lot of people tune in. Once again, this is William VanDerNoord.
Yes.
Okay. I'm getting better at it, people. Okay. And these are his books: Foundation and Origins, The World of Nash. You can catch them. It's not like it's a TV show.
Or Pokemon.
I was like, you can catch them all. I was like, you can find them on Amazon, man. They come in the ebook and the paperback edition. I have my 2 that are personally signed by William. If he gets famous, I'm going to be selling them so I can get paid. But
I hope you make a lot of money.
But it is what it is, man. This has been Conversing Over Drinks with your host, Cedric Turner. And like I always say, man, if y'all got any questions, y'all want to talk to me, y'all want to be on the episode, come let me know. Mr. William, is there anything you want to say to the fans before we head out?
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I know I'm probably not the most interesting man in the world. I'm not drinking Dos Equis all the time. But I try my best. I hope my books will only get better from here. So if not now, then hopefully later, if you go and check out some of my stuff. Any read or view or purchase is worth a ton to me. So any interaction at all is amazing. I'm still just starting out, still just kind of getting everything out there, figuring everything out for myself. So everything you can do to help me, that's great. And I want to say thank you again.
Always, man. Always. It's always fun. And yes, we are both very unprofessional because my phone just went off twice. His phone went off. It's all good, man. This is Conversing Over Drinks. We keep everything 100. Y'all should know that by now. And don't worry about that weight bench right there. I ain't lifting no weights. So like it's collecting dust. I don't want to get swollen no more. I'm old. I wake up hoping that I can walk. Okay. We'll see you guys later, man. Peace. I'm out.